Welcome back to yet another wonderful episode of the program Sports Preview. And this time we are coming home. We're talking about our one and only Victor James Osimhen. Yes, Victor Osimhen, 26-year-old, who touched down Istanbul. That was on Wednesday evening, the 30th of July, to make sure that he was welcomed by thousands of Galatasaray fans who trooped out to the airport to celebrate his return. And this time around, is 75 million euros that was paid to bring him from Serie A club Napoli to Gala. And interestingly, he'll be earning a whopping £250,000 per week. And that is amazing, to say the least. It is not so much far off from what he was earning at Naples. And that brings me to ask what other clubs in the Premier League were doing, especially his preferred location, Chelsea, and they couldn't get the former African best to come play for them. But to talk about the pressure that will be coming alongside this big deal, a deal that broke the transfer record in Turkey and of course in Istanbul with Galatasaray. And we'll see what people are expecting from Osimhen after this very, very big move. So we'll talk about all of these and what you expect from the man who was top scorer in the Turkey Superliga and of course who won 2 domestic titles with Galatasaray just last season, scoring as much goals as possible. Can he even replicate that as a full player with Galatasaray, or will it come at a very, very huge cost with all of the pressure piling up? My name is Oji of Anadobodo. We'll go on a break, we'll come back. It will be time to hear from the team. Don't go away. Welcome back. It's still welcome to Voice, the program Sports Preview, and we are talking about Victor Osimhen. Starting from my immediate right, let me talk about the man, Donoski!
Boss! Nice and
of course, from my immediate left is the man, Bomb 3 Joe! And then to complete the quadruple is the man, CISO! I am That's what it is. And of course, we're talking about one of Africa's finest. Of course, he made it to the top 10 in the world at a point in his career, Victor James Osimhen. From 16, when he hit the world stage at the only 17 World Cup, he has never slowed down, scoring back to back. And now, he's in Turkey. A couple of persons felt like leaving Serie A after spending time in the French league, but it was time to come to the Premier League. But some are saying because he insulted Coach Ligi, one of the greatest players to come out of Africa, that the clubs were skeptical about getting him. You never can tell all of those rumors. But I want to ask, let's find out 75 million euros is some money to be paid from Turkey. Like a Turkey team, paying as much as that amount of money. Don't you think it will apply pressure on the Nigerian striker, to perform? Because now it's going to be a situation where he must perform.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is right, because when you pay more for somebody, you expect more from the person. So he has to deliver this time around. Last season was a one was a loan. He played well, so they saw it. That's why they are paying heavily on him to replicate that same thing he did last season. To do it again with more, to increase on the score sheet again, and also help them in the Champions League also.
Yeah, so, I think they have been constantly delivering. Not to talk about what he did last season. Now, banking him that one goals is one of those factors that motivated him. And you have to talk about the fan factors. Now, if you check, he had a good relationship with the fan. The fans motivate him a lot. Like he sees Galatasaray as a home where he can come and perform. So I don't think that the big money being played on him should be able to be one of the factors that will pressure him in performing well. He has been doing that. He did that in Napoli, and he's doing that in Galatasaray.
Okay, let me put it in clear terms. Youssef El-Nesri from Sevilla to Fenerbahce is Turkey's most expensive transfer, and it was 20 million euros. Now, we are not saying they pay 25. It's not that. It's not 35.
5 million.
It's not 40. It's not 40. It's not 45. It's not 50. It's not 55. It's not 60. It's not 65. It's not 70, but 75. Now, check the gap.
That's a
Between 55 million euros difference.
from
Like, you know, when your highest transfer was pegged at 20 million euros, and breaking it, you didn't break it anywhere close to 75 million euros. That is never unheard of. In fact, that was why a lot of persons felt Galatasaray was never going to pay that release clause, because it was a little too much. In fact, Napoli allowed them to Galatasaray because they believed they were never going to meet that price. I mean, so I feel it will come with a lot of pressure, no matter how you want to look at it.
And another thing, one thing about players, I just hope the pay doesn't influence his personality. Because when you receive more, you feel.
Well, it's not anywhere extra.
Let's look at it this way.
But it's not the difference is just very little.
Let's look at it this way. It's a big move, just like you rightfully pointed out. Napoli didn't believe Galatasaray was going to. But this guy got Galatasaray to the Champions League. Galatasaray is possibly going to be headlining if the season goes well for them. They would come out to the Champions League exploring, just like Galatasaray did some seasons ago when they signed DJ Drogba, just to mention a few of the prominent people they've been able to associate with. Now let's look at it. It will affect him because psychologically it's inevitable to be on that particular pedestal and do not have or carry the weight of a lot of persons trust in you. You understand? So his slightest mistake that would have been overlooked will be looked into critically. A lot of things will be looked into critically. One of the things you should be very, very careful about is injuries within this period. Hopefully, if aside from injuries, he will definitely deliver, considering the fact that he came out as the top scorer in the league last season. That's entirely that's for a league that you just came into as a player that was on loan, and then you are exploring and then putting everybody in a run for their money situation. So I want to believe that it might surpass that cap of 30 something goals for a season this season if there is no space for injury. Their league cannot be compared with the likes of Serie A. They cannot be compared with the likes of the English Premier League, where you say it is fierce. But then again, I feel when they now come to other European champions, that's where he should be very skeptical about injury, because a lot of persons know what he's capable of, and some of them might be gearing towards that position. Having said that, he will, answering your question, he will be in a lot of pressure ordinarily as an individual. He will be in a lot of pressure. The thing is, we are believing he will be able to bring down those pressures, considering the fact that he has been on those pressures, even playing for the Super Eagles on different features, you understand. So if he could be able to shield that of Nigeria, we know how it is playing for Nigeria as a superstar, definitely he'll be able to do that.
Of course, if he can withstand what comes with the Super Eagles, the pressure, maybe he can't be able to do it at Galatasaray. And just before we, close it up on Osimhen's on 5 million euros move, that's around $85.74 million US dollars. Remember, it was $1 million US dollars that the Falcons paid for in the WAFCON, and Napoli's paid $85.74 million US dollars to get Osimhen. It will come with the pressure. It will come with a cost. In fact, let's say as another clubs who refuse to make this move will be watching. And I like what Zoro said about staying injury free, because injury is one thing that messes everything up. Like, imagine Osimhen gets an ACL, God forbid, in his first game of the season. All of these speculations, but it's still also good to know that it's a 4-year contract.
Yeah.
And that makes it a win-win for both Napoli and Osimhen. They must get their money's worth back. I feel he might give them 2 seasons
Then the
and get to move away, maybe find his way back to the Premier League where he was. Because in 2 seasons time, he will be 28. So at 28, 29, 30, that's the peak of every footballer's career. He might be finding his way now to the Premier League. Probably play 3 seasons again in the Premier League. Play until he's 30. And maybe look for a way to get to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Waiting for him with all of those money, maybe Japan or anywhere. But do you think the best player for the Super Eagles that we've seen playing in Turkey is going to impact positively or negatively this game? Remember, we can say that the Turkish league is not that competitive. So being a top scorer in the Turkish league, and that's why we didn't see his name in the Ballon d'Or list. Yeah, being a top scorer in the Turkish Super League cannot even amount to being a top scorer in Serie A in the world.
Yeah, what you said is true, but it won't affect him because he has been in Turkey and played for Nigeria about 3 games.
So
You saw what he did. The only thing that when he talks about the Ballon d'Or, he's not going to be among the list.
or maybe the African
If he's
person
going, yes, no, he's not going to be difficult because African best is not judged the way Ballon d'Or is judged. Because one thing about him, if he can,
but with all of this performance, nobody is
Yes.
suggesting his name in the AFCON in the CAF best player.
No,
You know, the names are revolving just around Mohamed Salah and of course Hakimi.
Let's assume that this was born out of how the last season went.
Yes.
This is the first season he's officially in Galatasaray, and a lot of things is
He
changed.
was top scorer in Turkey.
yeah, he was top scorer.
It was unknown. It was unknown.
He was alone.
So maybe you want to excuse it as part of the reason, which might not be, but then as part of the reason.
He's going to be playing in the Champions League.
Yeah, if you win the Champions League like Hakimi did, or win the Premier League like Salah did, if I win the Turkish league, we cannot be talking about the same thing. So I think that's where we are concerned. I think a lot of personal accolades will be given, in my own opinion.
One thing about let him play his game and see the way it goes. If he does well in the Champions League with Galatasaray, I think his name will skyrocket.
And there are still chances PSG will want to defend the title. You know, they're in a very hot form, and we know there's a Akraf Hakimi there. You know, that's where I have an issue with that Turkish move. I would have preferred the Premier League, obviously, but then Brody may not forthcoming. And he can't go back to Napoli. He's busy already.
One thing you understand, like Chelsea, Man U, Arsenal, along the line, yeah, after Osimhen. But one thing you understand, what Napoli gave them most times, depending on your, if it was Arsenal or Man, an English team that is coming, the price tag will have increased for me. Maybe this price tag is like this because it's from the Turkish side. But when it was a real European side team that is coming for you, you know it's going to be skyrocketing. The money, the price tag will be more, and he will be looking for a way to get more in his personal salary.
And I think that was part of the issues at Chelsea.
Yes.
Salary. They want to pay him £150,000 a week. That's £100 million short of what a Turkish side is doing in a league that doesn't have the publicity that the Premier League have got. I think they've got some expansions to do for us to see what transpired there as it may. Just before we run it off, you want to say something?
Yes, I remember that Osimhen is one of the contender for the highest goal scorer by a foreign players in recent years.
You got it.
So I think that he had a great things to prove. So that price tagged on him is going to do well.
He's going to do well. Believing on that is Podolski's thing. But then he advised Osimhen to stay injury free. What's your advice to Osimhen now?
The same thing, stay injury free and always be focused. Listen to your coach, don't drag work with them. So it doesn't end up.
You've done that in the past.
Stay injury free and don't fight.
Don't fight. Because we know he's a fighter, and I think he should do all his fighting on the pitch and not elsewhere. And the love between Osimhen and Galatasaray fans are so massive. In fact, they felt like he was betraying them if he was leaving. And I'm glad that he has listened to them. And in his speech, he thanks the president of the club for doing all that he can do to see that he gets that very prominent move to club. And with all of the things that, Napoli wanted to make sure that Osimhen went to Saudi Arabia to benefit them more.
Yeah, yes.
But I think he really showed that African players can save into money. I think so, because Victor Boniface on his own side in an interview said he was always packed, that he packed his bag, he was already, packed up, already to leave.
Share some of his clothes.
Designer clothes, gave it away that he was going Saudi. So, but I think
Igalo was advising that if it was for him, that he would have chosen to go to Saudi Arabia.
He didn't. He wasn't even in a.
He went to China too.
Yeah, he was in his prime when he decided to go to China. We remember from the Premier League Watford, but when he saw the chance to come to Manchester United, he said Premier League club, he grabbed it even with the pay cut. So they all know what they are doing. But I think we all prioritize. Osimhen is still very young, 26. For me, even at the age of 35, he still playing good football in Saudi.
Yes.
And who knows? Well, this is the point where we say goodbye on today's episode. Osimhen, I wish him all the best. Of course, we'll be here talking about, and of course, you can go on MaxBet to still pick Osimhen to score. We know on MaxBet, there's $300 off for gas for just for registering, and of course, 100% bonus on your very first deposit. Thank you very much, Podolski, for being a part of this one, and of course, to you, Bonfrey. Of course, yes, thank you for coming. Oloma, who was behind the camera, will say thank you. Make sure that you subscribe and share so that you can get these videos when they drop. It's still Bua Community Voice. MaxBet, the passports, adios.